Come on in, guys. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about my wish list of things I'd like to see in Survivor Season 41. The long layover between seasons allowed Survivor production to reconsider what they want the show to be. So a lot of positive changes have already been made. We've now got a more representative and racially diverse cast, the apparent dropping of themes and time-sucking locations like Edge of Extinction and Ghost Island, and fewer resources and reward challenges, which will probably lead to more camp life scenes. Well, thanks for making all these good changes, Survivor. Now I'm not gonna have any content for this video. Still, beyond all these positive changes, there are still some additional changes I'd personally like to see in Season 41. One of my very first videos was my Winners at War wish list, and a whopping 0 items on that wish list got checked off. Can Season 41 do me at least one better? Let's find out. All that said, let's dig into my wish list of 5 changes I'd like to realistically see on Season 41 of Survivor. At number 5 is no purples. Within Survivor parlance, being purple means you're under-edited and not really present in the narrative as a whole. You're completely unimportant to the story being told, and your elimination is typically of no consequence. Sometimes players who are taken out via an idol or advantage are under-edited, so the audience doesn't feel like their elimination is unfair, or more often they just weren't delivering in confessionals and simply weren't great TV, and things like that. We were so close to everyone getting a well-rounded or at least decent edit on Winners at War, then Danny just had to go and completely turn into set decoration, letting us play Where's Waldo with her every time we cut over to the edge. Oh, there she is, corner of the screen. Corner of the screen. Regarding the cast of Season 41, they had a whole extra year to lock this group in, so I'm pretty hopeful that this cast will deliver. But even if someone's not exactly popping off the screen, I still want to see their story told. Look, the nature of storytelling is that you have major characters and minor characters. The same is true on Survivor, as it always has been. But you cast these people for a reason, please show us their personalities. And it's also worth noting that these stakes are higher than usual this season with the more racially diverse cast. It's important that we not only cast people from different walks of life on shows like Survivor and Big Brother, but that we also show them on the screen, and not just their forearm in the corner, like confessionals, too. At number 4 is to dial it back a little bit on the advantages, please. I'm not anti-advantage or anti-idol or anything like that. I think they bring a lot of fun to the show. But as nails at a margarita bar know, there is too much of a good thing, and I think we've officially reached advantage saturation at this point. I'd like to see advantages other than idols pared back to 1 or 2 per season that are only usable one time. Just in Winners at War, we saw a safety without power, vote steal, idol nullifier, 50-50 coin, extortion advantage, and a challenge disadvantage, in addition to the standard issue hidden immunity idols. That is just too much. So many advantages make the game far more luck-based than it should be. Not even the best players can play around these advantages because there's simply no way to even know that X or Y trinket is even in the game, let alone what it does. I totally get that Survivor wants these big TV moments every tribal council, but if you think back to the most exciting eliminations of the last 5 or so seasons, when advantages really started saturating the game, most of them don't involve any non-idol advantages. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but Michelle half-heartedly flipping her 50-50 coin isn't exactly knocking my socks off. I think a lot of the advantages over the last few seasons were A, throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, and B, making your Ghost Islands and Islands of the Idols and Edges of Extinction worth all the time they were eating up in the episode. So I'm actually fairly confident that with the elimination of those island-oriented locations, we'll see fewer advantages in the coming seasons, and the ones we do see will be more meaningful. To me, overloading the game with advantages shows a lack of trust in the cast to bring the gameplay and exciting moments themselves.
Huh?
Again, I'm not anti-advantage, guys. I mean, this channel's name is Idled Out. I'm pro-advantage. But again, it's idled out, not legacy advantaged out or 50-50 coined out. At number 3 is for the Survivor auction to return. I'll never not toot this horn. I will bring up the auction in every Survivor season wishlist until me or Survivor is dead. It's that good. The Survivor auction is some of the purest fun on this show, and it's more criminal than Vetus, Debbie, and Hatch combined that we haven't seen the auction since Worlds Apart, when the season 30 cast broke it so hard that it got sent to the Survivor scrapyard. The auction started getting corroded around the late 20s as savvy players increasingly refused to bid on food items, instead holding out for idle clues or advantages that were typically mixed in as an item to be bid on. It boiled over in Worlds Apart when Mike, Carolyn, and Dan all held out the entire auction for an advantage, all bid their full amount of money, and then drew rocks for the advantage. While the previous auction in Cagayan also had players hold their cash for an advantage, it still also had some all-time fun moments courtesy of Wu and Trish.
Get a fat dip of that guac.
The Worlds Apart auction, by contrast, was as flavorless as Trish's rice. I mean, with Mike, Carolyn, and Dan holding their hands, who else is gonna bring the fun at this auction? Tyler? Now, I think there's a pretty simple fix here. Just don't have any advantages in the auction. It's okay to have something fun that is completely outside of the game. That was like the whole point of the auction to begin with, and I'm sure the players would also appreciate a reprieve from all the strategizing. As long as it's made clear up front that there will be no advantages, this is just for fun. If you've gotta have some sort of advantage in the mix, just leave it covered. While I think it's pretty unlikely we ever see the auction again, I don't think it's impossible. It's always a blast to watch and is like the challenge equivalent of Surrey Fields. Hardcore fans love it, casual fans love it, Eric really loves it. If they find a way to fix the auction to their satisfaction, I'd love to see it back for season 41, 42, and forever, actually. At number 2 is an increase in challenge diversity, especially in the pre-merge. Challenges are probably the least interesting part of the show for me, although I will fully admit that there have been some incredibly memorable challenges over the years. There's no question that Survivor's got an incredible challenge team. But when I think of all my favorite challenge moments throughout the years, very few of them involve players swimming out into the ocean, retrieving a key, returning to land, unlocking a box, and solving a puzzle. There are, of course, variations on this. Not all of them involve swimming, some of them involve climbing structures instead, but I think this style of multi-stage challenge is used a bit too often in modern Survivor. They all boil down to essentially the same thing. I totally get why they return to this well over and over again. It's probably relatively easy for the production crew to design and put together. It's probably cheap to build and test run, you can probably reuse assets, and it's likely easy to edit the challenge narrative in post. But as these challenges have become more common, we've lost other really flavorful pre-merge challenges, and this new era would be the perfect opportunity to bring back some old favorites like By the Numbers, Hot Pursuit, Kicking and Screaming, Shoulder the Load, Sumo at Sea, the Gross Food Challenge, Kite Flying. I hope they bring some of these old pre-merge challenges out of the vault. It'd make me happier than Zoe eating a Snickers. Okay, maybe not that happy. At number 1 is for idols and advantages to be more difficult to earn. Ever since Russell Hantz wandered off into the jungle to look for idols without clues, we've seen players successfully emulate that strategy in most seasons since, to the point it's quite rare to ever see an idol clue on screen at all. That's not necessarily a knock against your Bens or Rick Devanses. That's the game they were playing, and they played it very well. But what if you literally couldn't find idols without a clue? I kinda think Survivor's trending this way already, but I'd like to see idols require some sort of action beyond looking in every island nook and cranny, or otherwise have some sort of potential consequence to obtain. In theory, endless idol hunting should hurt your game because you miss out on that crucial social and strategizing time. It should be a risk versus reward thing. You've got to weigh just how much missing out on all those conversations is worth. In practice, incentivizes players who are already persona non grata to just look all the time. The endless idol hunters of seasons past were generally people who were already target number one on their tribe. They had nothing to lose by spending all their time out in the jungle because they were already locked in as the next one to go home. I think there needs to be a bigger risk it for the biscuit. I think it's pretty obvious that we've reached idol saturation, which ironically makes for a less exciting game, the exact opposite effect that immunity idols are supposed to have. Idols obviously are not going anywhere, so instead they must be riskier to obtain. Claiming one should always be a potentially public affair. Hide clues at camp and hide idols at challenges, or even, dare I say, tribal council. Hide several versions of the same clue so multiple people are unknowingly competing for the same idol. Make players publicly sabotage the tribe or put themselves in clutch positions in challenges to get an idol. If you want them at camp, make them extremely difficult or noticeable to get, like the Edge of Extinction idol hidden at the top of the tree above shelter, or the idols in Survivor China and Philippines that were part of the set decoration. These are all things Survivor's done before to try and fix idols, but I really think they need to double down this season on making idols difficult to get. As a wise man once said,
"You know, there is no free lunches on Survivor."
In a preseason interview, Jeff said, quote, "Advantages now often come with massive risks. In order to earn an advantage, you have to successfully navigate something risky. Personally, I find that to be a pretty encouraging start." Of course, nothing will ever be as risky as climbing 200 feet into the air on a rickety ladder on a sheer cliff face just to retrieve an idol. Exhausted from endless high-stakes negotiations with Jeff over rice, up in those high, bitter winds without a jacket. She almost died, guys. Got nothing else for ya. To make my wish list of favorite viewers, like and subscribe and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.